This year of Fun Size Book Club has come to an almost end. We're not done with December yet, but what did I think of everything that I chose? Hey everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and today for Bookmas Day 17, I want to talk about everything that I read for Fun Size Book Club with all of you that participated this year and rank the books based on what I thought. If you have not heard of Fun Size Book Club, it is my book club. It is the book club that I host every month throughout the year. I started doing it on my Instagram a year or so ago. I don't even know how many years I've done book club now. I decided to transition it over to my YouTube because I like to be able to have this kind of interaction and conversation with you guys about the books. I liked it better than just having a chat function. At the beginning of this year, I decided to start Fun Size Book Club on my channel, and I have been announcing a book a month all year long, and we've been reading it and discussing it at the end of the month with my live video premieres. There have been quite a few of you who have come, some of you who have come almost every single month, and just know that it means so much to me to have you guys participating in book club. I talked about this in one of my previous videos for Bookmas, but I was the president of book club in high school for like my later years. I wasn't at the beginning. I was always in book club, but I wasn't at the beginning. I love book club so much, but I am not a typical book club reader. Like, there are a lot of book clubs out there who read different books than I like to read. After so many years of being like, well, I miss having a book club, I just decided to make my own. And we read things that I want to read. Lots of romance, lots of fantasy, which sometimes doesn't get chosen for book club books. Like, they're usually like more literary or things that are thrillers, mysteries, contemporary. And if it doesn't have romance in it, I probably don't want to read it. So Fun Size Book Club was born out of that, and it's been a lot of fun doing it with all of you guys on my channel, and I'm excited to kick off January. We still have to finish Anastasia though. We're not done with December yet. So for this video, I wanted to look back at all of my choices and decide if I made good ones. It's so funny because I actually get really stressed about picking a book club book because I usually pick something that I want to read. But I go through all these thoughts of like, well, what if everybody else doesn't want to read it? Like, what if it's boring? What if we don't like it? What if I don't finish it? Like stress. I get so nervous about picking a book club book. A lot of thought goes into it. And I really hate it when I pick a book and then I don't like it. My goal is always to pick books that we will enjoy reading together. And even if I wasn't a super fan of it, we still end up having a really good discussion, figure out reasons why we liked it or didn't like it. All right, so here we go. I'm going to rank them. Now, in my rankings, there's only going to be 10. We did pick a book for every single month this year, but I did not finish 2 of them, so I can't rank them. The first one I completely failed at was A Forgery of Roses. I started to read it and then my reading mood just completely took over and it was not having it. It doesn't mean that there was anything wrong with the book. I barely made it into it, but my mood was not there. And I always like to give the authors a fair chance. Like, I don't think that reading a book that my mood is not there for is good for reviews, because no matter what, I'm going to give it probably a worse review than I would if my mood was there. So I didn't read this one. I can't rank it. I don't think anybody else read it this month either. So yeah, we didn't make it to A Forgery of Roses. I also haven't finished Anastasia yet. So I can't rank that one. I have started it. I have not made it very far. We've talked about how long that book is, and I know a lot of it is because of the artwork, but I'm still in the first part where she's still a child. I have not made it yet. Our discussion is at the end of the month, last Tuesday of the month, like always. Hopefully, I will have it finished by then. And if I don't, be prepared to extend it out into January because it's a long book. Like, it would be completely understandable if we weren't finished yet. So let's start with the books that I liked the least. So I'm going to start with number 10 and we're going to go to the one that I liked the most. Number 10 was Gilded by Marissa Meyer. I love Marissa Meyer's books. I read all of the Cinder series. I love her books. Heartless was one of my favorite retellings. This one did not hit for me. It was a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, and I just did not connect to the writing style of it. I did not connect to it at all. And then there were some horror elements that were in the book that really just completely turned me off to it. I have trigger warnings in my review video for this book that it completely turned my stomach. I wanted nothing to do with this book. I said I would not recommend it to people, and I have not recommended it to people. The second one just came out. I have seen people who really like it, but this book was not for me. It was not for me at all. I talked about how I felt about the triggers as being a new mom, and I stand by those triggers. Those are not things that I like reading about. Number 9 was Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Despite this cover being absolutely magnificent and sucking me into reading the book, I didn't enjoy it. It was okay. There were a lot of people that liked this book, but I didn't. I didn't find the romance very compelling. I did not really like the main character. I also just felt like it was really hard to place this book in a YA setting of who I could recommend it to, because there was a spicy scene that was in there that was like mildly graphic, but not graphic. So it wasn't closed door that could be recommended to a younger audience. It just was weird. The book just did not sit well. And I thought it was pretty long in some places and kind of boring in others, which is sad because I did really like her other book that I read. But this one was not my kind of book. But the cover, gorgeous. Number 8, I kind of feel like is tied with number 7. I had a really hard time determining which one I wanted to put over. So I would say like 8 and 7 are pretty even. They're pretty even. I liked the books, but I was like, So I have number 8 as Stealing Infinity by Alison Noel. Again, beautiful cover, one of my favorites of the year. That's what drew me into wanting to read this book for book club. It seemed like very much Inheritance Games vibes, where it was like mystery and puzzles and time travel. And it had all of the elements that I was looking for in an exciting YA book. It has a little romance in there. We find out that it's a love triangle-ish, but I just felt like it fell a little flat. I expected a little bit more excitement, whereas it wasn't very exciting. It was good, and I think it was a good intro to maybe the whole series, and it did make me interested enough to want to read the second one, but I don't know. It fell really flat, I feel like, for a book club book. I wanted it to be something that was more exciting and enticing. And if the second one is not exciting, then I feel like I might not continue with the series. Number 7, which is where I kind of felt like was tied with number 8, was Court by Tracy Wolff. We read this together for book club because I know so many of you guys that follow me on my channel love this series, and I have been reading it since the very beginning. I thought this one was all right. I liked it, but I think it should have been the true ending. I am very, very honest about that. I think the series was extended out too much and the books were just too long. I think there were a lot of things that happened. Like, I've described the books like this in the past, like, because they're so long, I've described them like that trend that was on TikTok a long time ago, like when you're trying to get to the end and you have to go through all these things and backwards and everything. That's how I started feeling that these later books, what they turned into. Court was really no different for me with that. I liked it. I think the series should have come at an end here. I don't like the twist that she pulled in to extend to another book. I think she should have left it alone. And I still haven't read Charm yet. So I think that just shows like where I was left off with this book, that I haven't jumped into that next book yet. So it was good. but glad I read it with you all for book club because I know you guys all wanted to read it, but that's about where I was at. Number 6, which I could arguably say 8, 7, and 6 were kind of all tied. I had a hard time flip-flopping them around and figuring out which one I liked more. So I feel like 8, 7, and 6 were kind of like a 3-way tie. This Woven Kingdom. I think this book was good. It was very insta-love for me, and I felt like it was longer than it needed to be. It didn't have that exciting book club feel, despite all of the quotes for all of my favorite authors on the back saying how exciting and amazing it was. Like, I trusted their words. I just felt like it fell a little flat plot-wise. Not much happened. It did leave you off on a cliffhanger, and it did have that sort of lost royalty element and the enticing love story, but I just don't know if it was exciting enough for book club to read the next one next year. Number 5 is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. And I picked this one because I wanted like a romance. I wanted a quick read, something that wasn't in a series that we weren't going to get bogged down in waiting for future books. This one was good. It was not my favorite Christina Lauren book, and I think a lot of people had that opinion. It was less of a romance as they typically used to write romances and more of an adventure. It was a fun adventure. It was quirky and cute, but I didn't think it was as enticing as their other books have been. Like, if I would have read Something Wilder first before I read any of their other books, I don't know if I would pick up their other books. I still liked it for different reasons than why we picked it for book club. I wanted that quick romance, and I got more of a quick adventure. Number 4 is Air Awakens, and I picked Air Awakens as a reread. I did a couple rereads for book club this year, and I mainly picked this one because I just wanted to share this series with you all. I still really, really, really like this series, and I love Elise Kova's writing. This one, it's funny because it's a great introductory into the series, but the series just like gets better from this point out. So I think that's why this one ranked so like lower on my list and is at number 4. The series just gets better and it gets more addicting and devastating. But the first book is kind of that give you the world, build the world, give you the introductory into the romance, but the romance hasn't really taken off yet. So I really, really like this book. Really think everybody should read this series. But this one, number 4. But I'm really glad I shared it all with you guys for book club. Number 3, which I had to pick for book club because I had to make sure I read this and had people to talk about this with, Defend the Dawn by Bridget Kemmerer. It didn't rank like the highest because I still liked Defy the Night better than this book, but I loved this compared to the other books that we read for book club. I thought it was great. It was a great sequel. I was a little worried about her sequels because I didn't really enjoy the second book of the Curse So Dark and Lonely series, but this one I think is solid. I do love these characters and I love this world, and the second book just was great to make me continue to want to read it. And I'm so glad that I had so many of you that also wanted to read this month because we were anticipating this release. Like, we were waiting for this book to come out. I'm glad that you guys shared my sentiment and wanted to read it together. Number 2. Okay, I picked this one for book club because a friend of mine kept saying, you need to read it, you need to read it, you need to read it. And I loved this book. I thought it was so great. And so many of us read it. And then so many of us read like the next few together and we did the live discussions. So it was so fun. And I was so happy that we did that. So at number 2 is Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. This was such a perfect book club read because it was addicting and fast. We were raving and wanting to talk about it and wanting to read the next books together. So I really hope I get more books like this next year in my book club choices because it's just made book club fun and it gave us a lot to talk about and more books to talk about it with. And I just really hope we get more addicting, fun reads like this. I say I hope that we get more addicting, fun reads. I'm picking them. So like, I really hope I pick more addicting fun reads, but it's hard to know until you read the book. Like, I don't pre-screen these for you guys. Like, I read them along with you, so I have no idea if I'm going to like it or not. So it's all just a crapshoot. And number one, it's so bad that I picked this one and it's number one because it is a reread for me. But out of all of the books, looking at like what my rankings were, this one's still my favorite. It's still my favorite. And that is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I think this was a perfect timed book club pick. It was perfect for November. It gave that like cold, wintry atmosphere, that family connection, that budding romance, enemies to lovers. And it came at the right time for me. And I'm so glad that so many of you read it with me and were introduced to Kella and Jonah. It was probably my favorite. And I think that's, on me that a reread was my favorite book club pick of the year. I shouldn't have done that, but it was. It is what it is. Maybe next year I won't do rereads for book club. We'll see. It just depends how I feel. Well, that's it. That's all 12 books that we read for Fun Size Book Club this year. It was a great reading year. I am so happy that I got to share book club with so many of you. We're still going to be discussing Anastasia in about 2 weeks, which means I need to get reading because I have a lot to read before then, and there's a lot of holidays in between. If you're curious on how to join Fun Size Book Club, there is an entire video where I explain everything that you need to know. It's on my main channel page. It's got its own section and it says all about book club. So you can watch that and let me know if you have any questions. Also, a little teaser. I don't know if you saw this in a previous video that I had talked about it, but I did get a request for certain types of videos. And I'm trying to work those into book club. So if you have requests or things, themes, types of books that you want to see, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I will try to work those in as much as I can. If I don't work them into book club, I still try to work them into what I'm reading to get you guys content that you want to watch. But January, I already have the book picked. I haven't recorded the video for it yet. But January is going to be Vikings. We are going to read a Viking romance fantasy book. I don't know if this one is specific to Vikings, the one that I chose, but it says it's heavily Viking inspired. So hopefully it's good. It's got really good ratings. I've seen it kind of all over the place recently, so I'm excited. So pay attention. Make sure if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications, and tune in to book club on the 27th at 5:30 p.m. PST, and I will make the announcement after our book club discussion. Thanks so much for joining Bookmas Day 17. Can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget, you can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Fun Size Reader. See you guys next time.